Hi, I'm Brian, and I'm restoring this 26-foot Thunderbird here behind me, so I'll be at a sail for the next few years while I build my 38-foot sailboat from scratch. The kitty cats finally got brave enough to come out and have a look around the shop here. So as there's a number of holes in the boat that I have to patch, I went and I got a measurement of the rough size that they need to be, and what I'm doing right now is just going to mark out the sizes here so that I can cut out the little pieces, and then what I'll do is I will trace them through the back side of the items so that I can get them to the exact size that I need. None of them are overly large, it's just a number of little pieces that are needed. A lot of them are round, and with those all marked out now, I can cut them out. I'll be able to go from there, cut them down to size and shape, and then we will get them installed on the boat. Here is one of the holes I have to replace. I've got a block that I'm going to cut to size. So what I'm going to do is hold that in behind here, and I am going to trace it to get the shape that I want. And I am going to cut inside these lines so that I'll be able to get some epoxy filler to create a bond between these two pieces, but I'm also going to fiberglass on the outside. So there, I now have my pattern that I am going to follow. Notice I have a little backer block in there. That's just to be able to, once I put this piece in, I'll be able to screw it in place and get my thickened epoxy all around it to seal it up. I am going to have to put a layer of fiberglass over the top of it and fair everything back in also. I also had to wipe down all the plugs that I had made. With that all done, it's time to start mixing up some thickened epoxy to apply over all the edges of both the pieces and the holes. I'm just going to go around the edge with the epoxy, and then so I added some cotton flock to thicken it, and now I just got to bag it up and we'll be able to start adhering these in place. So I have the round circle. I actually started filming the other one, or thought I had started filming the other one, but I had stopped the camera from running, so I don't have that footage. Here is this round one, again, putting the thickened epoxy there. And I am going to grab a little scrap because this has a layer of 1/8 material inside. So I'm going to take a little scrap of 1/8 material and I'm going to put it behind here. We're going to tuck that whole thing into the hole. I am going to stick a screw through it just to hold it in place while the thickened epoxy sets up. I'll fill the rest of that with the thickened epoxy to make sure there's no gaps left on the outside. Then I'll have to go and put a layer of fiberglass over this and fair it all out. So just lots of little work to be done to it. So I'll come back later and smooth that epoxy down once it starts to set up some, but I got to keep on trucking here. Just fairing it out a little so I'll be able to get a layer of glass on without too much issue. Okay, the first thing I got to do is take the screw out of this and take the backing plate off, and we'll see if it's held in place. Looks good. I washed it with water and a scrub pad to get the amine blush off of it. So I'm going to knock the high spots off of this so that whenever I put my fiberglass on, it's not going to be sticking proud too much. I also have my 2 cockpit drains out here. And there's one of them, and just on the other side of the boat is the other ones. And here was the exit for my hood. I have tape holding it in place there, and in here was the intake for my hood, and I got both of them blocked out also. So as we know, we had this hull damage here. I'm going to put some fiberglass along there, but before I can, I'm going to have to put some epoxy to build this up so the fiberglass isn't going to run over a sharp edge. And I have a little bit of leftover epoxy from filling all those other holes, so I'm going to give this a quick wipe and start filling. What I'm basically going to have to do is build it up so it's perfectly square and then round it over so I can get my fiberglass to go around the corner, because fiberglass doesn't like tight corners or square corners. So it's just going to take me a while, probably a couple of applications here to make this look the way I want it to. It's another cold day here. I'm fighting a little bit with the temperature. It's not quite warm enough to be able to do epoxy work, but here's that seam I filled yesterday. It's looking good. Now I'm going to have to sand it over whenever I get my sander out, but there is just a few other little spots that I need to work on. Here I have to cut along the sides of these because there's a bunch of holes and gaps where they've epoxied and filled them. So I want to cut that open so I can fill it, and then I'm going to have to fiberglass over the top of it. Also, at the bow of the boat, I found a little bit of rot. I'm going to have to cut that out and just replace this front little bit. As we come in here and look, there's still rot in underneath here. As you can see, I can easily push this bar in underneath here. So I'm going to have to go a little bit further and come back a bit more and see if I can get beyond that rot that's at the bottom. You see, notice the top of this plywood is totally fine. So the water was getting in for a while and it ran along the bottom of it. So I have it all cleaned up here. I had to cut back about that much further to get to good material along this edge. You can see might be a little bit of water in there because it's a little bit darker, but there is no rot, so over time that will dry out. As you can see, there's no further damage down below this layer. Yes, there is a little bit of a dark spot right up at the front. That doesn't surprise me with the amount of water and stuff that would be hitting there, but as this has a full coat of epoxy before the deck was bonded to it, it pretty much stopped that water from getting into all of this material. So it made this very good and very stable, and that's one of the beauties of epoxy. As you layer things up and glue things together with an epoxy coat between them, it's pretty much waterproof. I've got 2 pieces of wood to make up, actually 3. I got 2 layers of 3/8 for my main deck so that I can bend it over that forepeak where it's rotted out, and then I have my traveler, the piece of wood that goes under for my traveler that I've decided to replace. It was getting doty, and but you can see there's a blob of epoxy right here. I know that there's a bolt in there from reaching in underneath, so I'm going to have to start cutting this stuff free. I also know that this extends beyond the end of this, so I'm going to have to cut out a whole bunch of stuff here to get this opened up and freed like I want it to be. The amount of destruction that you have to cause to bring a boat back into service. Always interesting to see. Oh, there's the bolt off. Or I should have said the nut off. And there's there's the bolt gone. So this side's all cleaned up now. Just got to do the other side. I have the new piece for the Traveler cut here. It's going to fit right in this slot, but as I have a whole bunch of paint here and here, and I'm going to fiberglass over this area so that this whole thing will be fiberglassed and watertight, I do have to do a bunch of sanding right here to clean this all up and get it ready for fiberglass. So I got it all sanded down. The piece actually fits in there relatively nicely, just a little bit more work and should be ready to go in, but it's unfortunately way too cold to mix up any epoxy today. We'll catch you in the next video. If you enjoyed this one, like, subscribe, and share.